addressing it?
To any of them.
Okay.
You used a term that I'm not familiar with, dystopia, is that what you said? Could you explain that? I don't know if there's any other people that don't.
I just realized that I didn't say that again, Julia. Dystopia, it's dystopian, it's the opposite of utopia. So a utopian society would be the perfect society where everyone's healthy, happy, has enough, everything's great. Dystopian novels are generally, they fall into the category of everything kind of looks great on the outside, but actually people have given up a lot of their freedoms, or they are being controlled by the government or by some other entity. That's one form of dystopia. There's also the post-apocalyptic dystopian novel, which would be a world where everybody is just trying to survive some sort of terrible disaster, be it a war or a natural disaster or whatever. So I think that's, yeah, that's about it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
Well, I'm a debut author, so a lot of this is so new to me, and I think maybe I'll pass it to some of these other, because I think it's a decision that's made by the publishing house. Here you go.
Yeah. It's a matter of money. No, not that I'm an old cynic or anything. Yes, debut authors tend to, they'll put them in hardcover if they think there's a strong story, and they'll think that people will get excited and will be willing to pay a little bit more money for a hardcover. Usually when you're a brand new author and nobody's ever heard of you, you start out in like mass market paperback, which is a smaller paperback. But today, they like the trade size paperback a little bit better. A lot of people like to buy that format better. And it's a publishing decision. They decide who they're going to put in hardcover. And a lot of times, debut authors will start out in paperback, but as they get more and more popular, then their books start coming out in hardcover. So yes, she should be honored. Yes, they have, her publisher has a lot of faith in her, and hopes that people will want to buy her book, even though it's a little bit more expensive than the other ones. So that's one of the reasons. You had a question?
Yeah, I would say it's mostly for bullying, because it pertains mostly to action stuff. Their dialogue is really, really good. Like, their banter is real, and I'm just wondering how you make it so, like, these, like, conversations. Mine always sounds awful.
I'll try to speak up. I've always really loved dialogue, and I guess it's just a matter of listening to people, listening to even movies that have that kind of dialogue, or reading a lot of really good dialogue. You'll hear this, all authors are leaders, and you have your strengths and your weaknesses, and dialogue is one of the things that I really love. And if you can get your characters down pat, and if your characters real, then that dialogue is kind of slow and natural. The dialogue between Puck and Ash is much different than the dialogue between Puck and Megan, and the dialogue between Ash and Megan. And they also have that backstory where they hate each other. They don't really hate each other, but they tend to hate each other, so that might be kind of drive the dialogue. Basically practice and thinking.
Reading it out loud helps too. If you're having trouble with your dialogue, read it out loud, and you can hear it where it talks better.
Even better, sometimes I have other people read it out loud too, and hearing like, and even sometimes if you have even like a male character speaking, if you have if you hear it in their voice, it really, you can see what sounds off and what sounds right.
Mara, question for you. Welcome back to Dayton.
That's my former survey professor. So whatever you ask me, I better know the answer.
There we go.
Hi.
Hi. Research must play a large role in your new theory.
Yes.
I wanted you to talk about that research, and when you enjoy doing it, and how much?
Yeah. I had to do a lot of research and not rely on Wikipedia. That would be a mistake. So I did watch some of the, there's so many of those reality TV shows out now with the ghost hunters and that kind of thing. So I watched some of those. I got really tired of them really quickly, so I just went to a lot of, or they hear something but you can't, they're watching it, they're like, did you hear that voice? And you're like, no. They play the, they play the there's an EVP, and they'll be like, did you hear that? Because we're in the room and all you hear is, you hear it. So I went to a lot of websites that actually sell the equipment, because you can go online, you can buy your EMF readers, you can buy all of this. And the descriptions really explain what they do, how to use it, and that kind of thing. So I relied on that mainly, going to these places that sell it for a lot of money. So, and I tried to get some EVPs, and I didn't hear anything. I'm glad I don't commune with the dead at all. So not that I mind. I don't think I'd want to really. So yeah, that's what I did. Just a lot of research. I wanted to go on ghost hunts. And I contacted some places that do ghost hunts, but a lot of them wanted a pretty hefty fee to go with them. And I thought, well, I don't want to pay for that. I'll just, and I've always grown up across the street from cemeteries, and I've always really liked them, been really comfortable there for some reason, and I'd have lunch in them, and it sounds really morbid, but cemeteries are usually parks, and you were supposed to go have lunch there, and I was just like, keeping up the tradition. So yeah, I don't scare easily, and I don't believe in a lot of things. I think that's a little bit easier. I've had some strange experiences, but I always try to make sense of them in my head. So research-wise, though, yeah, with a lot of these sites that sell the equipment and try to get a feel for that, the rest of it I just kind of made up. So, that's what I do. Thank you. Other questions?
How do you enjoy writing this? How do you feel when you push yourself to going on the writing?
For those in the back who couldn't hear her question, she's asking how do you write when you have teenagers and other obligations? Well, you lock the teenagers in the closet. Yeah. Well, you have to prioritize your writing. You definitely have to let your family know that you're serious, because I did have that trouble in the beginning. My mother would call all times of the day because I was home and I could talk to her at any time. Thank God for caller ID. She's not here, is she? Okay. So you just have to set aside a time, like an hour a day, 2 hours a day. You have to close the door. You have to tell your family you're serious, not answer the phone, and just stick with it, because you can get your writing done. When my kids were little, and well, these ladies here have like babies. I think Lisa has a 6-month-old, which blows my mind. But mine were like 2, 3 years old, and they'd go to bed at 10 or 9, 10, and then I'd write till midnight. And I did that every night, and that was my time to write. And then when they were in school, I wrote when they were in school. So, you just have to set that time and just be very firm about it. And it's like, no blood, nothing on fire, do not bother me. Or go find your father. It's a good line. I learned a lot. Find your father.
Something that helped me, I actually started writing in earnest right after my daughter was born, and I was joking with somebody the other day that I thought it might be hormonal, because all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm really going to finish a book, and even though I'm exhausted. But what I did was, I said, I am just going to write 500 words today. And if I only write 500 words, that's fine. And they don't even have to be 500 good words. But I'm going to sit here, and I'm not going to finish, I'm not going to get on the internet, I'm not going to watch TV, I'm not going to bed, until I get my 500 done. And sometimes I would be so desperate to get done with it that I'd be checking my word count, I'd write a sentence, how many words did I write? Okay, I got to write 25 more words. But the cool thing about that is a lot of times you have it in you, but you didn't know you did, so all of a sudden you're like, dang, I just wrote 800 words. Or you say, okay, well, I only had 500 in me, but then you're like, at the end of the week, that's however many, 2,500 words, like that with math. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can see a book getting written here, and it picks the momentum, and then you don't want to quit, and then it's easier. So, but I think that 500 goal is a good chunk to just set for yourself.
I like something too. The other thing that I've learned is that you don't have to be at your desk in a quiet room to write. I bring my laptop with me everywhere, and I'll be waiting in carpool drop-off line, like seriously typing on my laptop, or, you know, I have 2 full hours of childcare at the gym, so those kids are in there for 2 hours, and I'm on the elliptical for half an hour, and the other hour and a half, you know, I'm writing. So you just steal little moments whenever you possibly can, and like Sarah says, eventually, if you have I think it's great to start with a goal of like 500 words a day, and you can always see things evolving from that. Any other questions?
My question is for Maria. I've read all of the study series and the first 2 of the glass series. I really love the study series, and I was wondering what made you want to transition from the study series and begin the story into the glass series.
You can thank my editor for the glass books. I had finished the 3rd of the study series, and I was tired. I mean, I know some authors can write 15, 16 books with the same characters, like Suki Sackhouse, and I admire that. But in my mind, when I got to the 3rd book, I was tired of being with Yelena and those guys, you know? And so I wanted to do something different, and my editor really wanted me to stay within the study books. So she said, well, what about Opal? She's another character, and she's got magic, and isn't she interesting? And I was like, yeah, but I don't know what I could do. And then all of a sudden, the idea popped in my head, and I'm like, oh. And she goes, you got an idea, don't you? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, well, write it. That's what we want. So then once I wrote Stormglass, she wanted to call it Glass Study, but since it was a new character, I thought, well, we need a new name. Sort of like the Buffy Angel thing, you know, Angel's a spin-off. So I went with the Stormglass books, and then that's how it went from there. And there's probably going to be another set of books coming from the Glass books. You haven't read Spyglass yet, but there's a lot of characters in there that are interesting to me. So I think it's a matter of time. Any more questions? Yeah, oh, there's one.
Any of you books in an outline for you to write, or do you take the time to lay it out before you do it?
Okay, she's asking if we outline or if we just write. And I would think that you're going to get 6 different answers for that one. And I will start and say I'm a seat of the pants writer. We call ourselves pantsers because we get an idea. Like I got an idea with this dream with Trella stuck in this world, and I just went and sat down and started writing it. And so that's me. And usually I spend the first half of my novel terrified that I don't have enough for a novel, and then I spend the second half of the book worried I have too much, which then you get the second book out of it. So it's pretty good for you guys. But that's me. I'm a pantser. Let's see. Mara, outline or not?
Not really. I have to know my very first scene and the first chapter. I'll work on the first chapter for a month if I have to. I know my first scene and my last scene. I don't know anything that's going to happen in the middle. So, yeah.
I know a few scenes. I'll have several scenes in my mind, but the things between them, the things that connect them, I do not know. I used to be a pantser, and that's how I wrote The Iron King, but then my editor started asking me for synopsises and outlines and such, so I kind of had to, you know, plot an entire book out just to kind of give it to her before I started writing it. So now I guess I'm in between. Like I said, I'll know this scene and this scene and this scene in the end, and then I kind of go from there.
I just want to add something to that. Yeah, your editors ask you for synopsis beforehand. I give them my best guess, and I never stick to it.
I do a little bit of everything, actually, when you hear about writer's process, because for me there's a fair amount of time of mulling it over. I have an idea for a story, but I'm not going to write anything until I kind of have thought it out and I can I get an idea of what the whole could be. Then I sit down and pant it for about 4 chapters until it kind of falls off a cliff. Then I get out graph paper, and it has to be graph paper, and I have to have a pencil. And then I outline, and it's like, and then I draw these arrows, I see how it connects, and so I do it all, I guess.
We always start out with, we always write a pitch first, and it's kind of like what you read on the back of a book. It's almost like we write a query letter, and if we were going to pitch it to somebody, this is how we would write it. And then, inevitably, we sit down and write the book, and it changes completely. So we start from a pitch and go from there.
I'm definitely a pantser, at least for the first draft. Although I usually know what the end is going to be. I can usually see the first scene, and I can usually see the last scene. And I don't have any idea how I'm going to get from there to there, but I know that my character made that journey already. So a lot of what I do is just sit there and go, okay guys, what are you doing next? You want to tell me? And usually they do. I mean, it's amazing. Your fingers start moving and something starts coming out. And sometimes, honestly, I feel like I'm reading the book I'm writing, because when you get in the groove, I mean, it's like the most amazing thing in the world, which is why I love to write. But then when you get the dreaded editorial letter and your editor says, okay, you need something else here, and you need to change this, and I'm not really buying this. And that's when I get out the index cards and the cork board and just write it all out. Who's in what scene, what are they doing, and then see where I can go from there. And that's the hard part. But it gets done, and it starts being fun too. So, any more questions? There were more hands. Yes?
Mine's for Julie.
Okay.
We know now that you're going to continue the Iron Face series. Is there any chance that you're going to change point of views at any point and switch from Megan to Pucker Ash?
The Iron Knight is in Ash's point of view.
Okay.
And funny story there, the trilogy, that was supposed to be it. I was done. It was my editor who wanted me to continue it. I was perfectly happy with the ending it as it was, but my editor was not. So she's like, well, you have to keep going, you know. Well, what about Megan's story was done? I felt I had told her story and it ended where she needed to be. So she's like, well, what about Ash? Can you maybe do something with him? So I decided, okay, I will try and write a book from Ash's point of view. So The Iron Knight will be out sometime in November, I believe, and it is from Ash's point of view.
Follow on for Julie. Are you done writing The Iron Knight already, or are you still finishing cutting on it?
No, The Iron Knight is done. It is in the hands of my editor. I think it is complete, unless she has some last-minute changes she wants me to do. It is finished. For now.
For now. Talk about a hedge there.
Right now I'm working on a new series. That is not the Iron Face series. It's about vampires. And post-apocalyptia.
Direction to Maria, regarding the study series, how did you develop Valak's character?
I got a question about Valak. We were just talking about Ash, Alistair, Valak, and what if we put them together in a cage and see if they would kill each other or not. I think they become best friends like instantly. For those who haven't read the study book, Valak is one of the main characters. He's a former assassin and in charge of security. And how I developed him, I started out with him like a stereotypical assassin character. I assumed that he would be really like light on his feet and very good swordsman and quite sneaky and devious. And my husband likes to tell people that I based Valak on him. And if you've met my husband, he's a little shorter than Valak and a little stouter. But he has black hair and blue eyes. So I just kind of go, yes, honey, that's right. Actually, no, we have a black cat named Valak in our house. So, when you're a seat of the pants type writer, you start out with stereotypical flat characters, and then you put them through the paces. And he just started to develop into more. He had a very sarcastic sense of humor, and he ended up being like a pack rat. And who would ever thought an assassin as a pack rat? And he also was an artist, which really surprised me. So that's the fun thing, you said about how things develop and they're fun. I think that's the fun thing about being a pantser, is because we don't expect it from our character to do this, and then they go ahead and do it on you, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. And then that's when my husband goes, but that's your character. And he's an engineer, so we just ignore him. So did that answer your question? Okay. Anyone else? Questions? Comments? Should I just start randomly picking on people? Oh, there we go in the front row. Okay. Okay, she's asking about the Harlequin Teen imprint, which is the main publisher is Harlequin Enterprises, and I know a lot of people when they hear the word Harlequin, they think romances, right? But now Harlequin's been doing a lot more other than the romances, and the teen line is fairly new. It started in 2009 in the summer, and you're impressed with the books, quality books, which is really good. Thank you very much. And Mara, Julie, and I are all part of the teen stable, as it's known. Yes, like horses. Yes. Yes. We're just livestock to them. You know that, don't you? But we have good editors, because see, now our editors, you're getting the Iron Knights, and you got the Glass books. So there you go. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I think I lost track of your question. You were just asking about what do we feel working with them? Or? All right. Yes, young adult is. Yeah, then they're monthly bodice rippers. Yes. Oh, I should watch their kids in here. Okay. They don't know what a bodice is anyway. It's an old-fashioned word. Yeah, the young adult fiction right now is a really exciting new genre. I mean, there's always been fiction for that age group, but it's been kind of like Nancy Drew and the Boxy Twins and Baby Club, and now with Harry Potter and Twilight, it's like, oh, teens do read. And it's exciting. I read this young adult books. I love them myself. And the publishers have woken up to the fact that these books will sell and that they're popular and they're getting people reading and they're talking about it. So I think Harlequin just is jumping on the bandwagon with all the other publishers and trying to get good teen fiction out there. And yeah, I think it's showing. Do you have anything to add to that, Julie? Mark? Everything I said. Hey, agree with me. I like them. Does that help you? Anyone else? Oh, one more over here.
Did you, this is for everybody. Did you say, like, I'm going to write it, or did it just turn into, like, a young adult book?
Okay. She wants to know if the books were aimed originally for teens, or if it was. In my case, it was not aimed for teens. My study books and my Glass books, you'll find them on the adult shelf, but I was getting so many emails, like from Jessica here in the front, that just loved the study books, and I was to my publisher, I was like, hey, you know, my books are appealing to the young adult audience as well, so they reissued them as a YA book, and then I wrote the inside, outside books for teens. But I didn't do anything different. Teens are very savvy readers, and I didn't change my language or my word choice or anything. It just ended up being a little shorter book with a younger protagonist. So that's my story, but I'm sure, do we want to go down the line again, Mara?
I taught high school for 6 years, and I knew that I wanted to write young adult, that I wanted my main character to be in this age group. Because I always thought, one of the reasons I taught high school, I thought it was so interesting that you go in at 13 or 14 and you're considered a child, and you come out and you're 18, you're an adult. Like, that's really amazing, and just the range of emotion that goes through that time. And I thought I could do interesting characters, I could do interesting series with that as the backdrop. So I really want to write young adult.